Hi everyone. So today we are having an author talk with Carmen Turner-Schott on her newest release, Your Astrological Energy. This is all about maximizing the power of your own birth chart. So thank you guys so much for watching. We do have Carmen's book available on our website for purchase. And if you guys want to learn more about this, we're going to have Carmen in here right now. She is actually... Okay. I think I sent the approval, so it should be loading soon. Hi.
Hi,
How are
thanks
you?
for having me.
Yeah,
Nice to see you.
nice to see you too. Everyone's joining in right now. Hello, everyone. This is Carmen Turner-Schott, and we're talking about your book, Your Astrological Energy, today. So, for people that are just joining in that might be new to our store and or you, I would love to hear a little bit about you, about your background, on why this book is meant to be out now.
Sure. So, hi everyone. I love astrology and just all these years I've been doing it since I was 16. I realized that astrology is energy and that is why it works and why it's so accurate. And a lot of people ask me, Carmen, why is it a bad thing I don't have planets in one of the houses? Is it why don't I have planets there? Is it bad I don't have planets in a sign? And I'm always like, no, it's not bad because we all have all 12 signs in our birth chart somewhere.
Mhm.
So we can harness the energy of any zodiac sign we want when we know our birth chart and we know where Scorpio is, for instance. If you have no planets in Scorpio, but you want to be able to tap into Scorpio, we want to look and see where's Scorpio in your birth chart. You can absolutely learn about that and harness it. So I wanted to write this book, to really go over all of the ways to harness the 12 signs, energies, and strengths, and to use them in your life. And then to talk about the planet through each house, through each sign, and transits, because that's where we can also tap in and harness all of the energies of all the signs and energies as well. So I wanted to write a basic guide for that and help people be able to tap into those, maybe those signs they want to be more like.
Yeah, and I think it's a great thing to have more resources on astrology that's more accessible to people because
Yeah.
we're in the times of social media and content creation where people are getting just slivers of astrology information,
Yeah.
and a lot of the time there's some bias with it on people's relationships with other signs or maybe how it's being represented in media. So I think what I like about your book as well is the breakdown of each chapter being about those signs. So you're learning more about the real meaning of like an Aries rather than seeing on TV that they're
Yes.
hot-headed and
Yeah.
angry. Like you're getting to see why, like what makes
Yes.
them that. And I feel like also, like you said, when you're learning more about those signs, we have those in our charts.
Yeah.
If you, let's say I'm an Aries rising, but I'm
Yeah.
a Capricorn sun, so like
Yeah.
learning more about Aries and seeing the like passion and like the vitality that Aries brings,
Yeah.
it helps you understand yourself even more because a lot of the people that aren't really into astrology just call themselves by their sun sign. But when they
Absolutely.
learn about everything else and they see how that intermingles with their own energy and like
Yes.
how it shows itself, they're not just that sun sign.
Absolutely. It's, the everyone kind of knows their big three, their sun, their moon, their rising, and those are very important. But, the other things that a lot of people don't know about is that I find is, those transits.
Hmm.
We all are affected by the transits energies and all those planets in the sky right now are going through some area of our life, one of our houses in our birth chart, whether it's home and family, marriage, partnership, career. And I mean, I have it happen all the time. They're like, what is going on in my life? I pull up the transit chart. Well, what do you know? Pluto is transiting your fourth house, and they're like, wow, I just lost, a parent and I moved, all these things. I'm like, that's Pluto energy. So it's like understanding the energies of all the planets and how these transits play out. A lot of the information in this book I try to write on a basic level, but a lot of it is just things that I have learned through doing counseling and charts
Mm.
for the past 30 years. And what I've seen patterns play out. And, these are energies, these are patterns. And so, I don't believe that astrology should be fatalistic. I believe that some things are destined to happen. I do believe that. And certain things happen the way they're meant to. And we chose certain things and we knew we had to go through it. I believe that before we come, and that's our birth chart. But some things, if we have an awareness of something or a energy or a pattern, maybe it's a past life pattern. Maybe it's something from childhood that we started doing as a coping mechanism and it's not helping us. There's ways that we can change, and it's being aware of the pattern. Like I knew that I always attracted Aries people, and it never worked out because I got too much Earth, I got too much Virgo, but I'm an Aries moon, so I click with them. And friendship, work, we're awesome, but in an intimate relationship, Carmen got her heart broke several times here. So I learned as I got older what energies are best and most compatible for me in relationships.
Mm.
Who's good for me at work? Who's my best friends that are loyal to me? And I have a lot of friends that are, Scorpio, Aries, Libra. I have friends from all signs, but I do tend to attract certain signs, and all of us kind of do. And to me, that's energy because
Yeah.
sometimes we attract like what's like us, and then a lot of times we attract what we don't have, what we lack, the element, the fire, air, earth, and water. And my daughter, she's 21, example, her whole life, she's always drawn Libras for friendship, for people she's had crushes on. And she has no air in her chart. She's earth and fire. And so these Libras have heard her, and she wants to change them. She thinks she can make them like her and make them open up. And I'm like, you can't change
No.
people. So I'm like, you gotta stop that. That's her being a Virgo. She thinks she can, make them how
Yep.
she wants them. No, no,
Yeah.
no, no. And so just accepting people for how they are and honoring their energy and their gifts, and that's kind of why I wrote this book. I wanted to put a lot more in this book, but as you know, it's a thick one.
Yeah.
It's the biggest one I've ever written. It's a thick little sucker, and I would have loved to get into the nodes and even Chiron a little bit in there. But my next book I want to focus on healing and Pluto and Chiron and trauma and things like that. So I'm gonna write about that. But I wanted to put so much in here, and I'm like, man, I I couldn't fit any more. But I hope people like it because it's not like too basic. My Sun Signs, Houses and Healing book is my first book I ever wrote with Llewellyn, and it's still out there, and it's basic, but I focus on healing and transformation and how you become more resilient. And in this book, it's really more how to harness all of the energies and understand all 12 signs and be able to tap into those energies in your own chart and your birth chart and in your natal chart and or your transit chart. And so you'll be flipping through every chapter. You won't just use one chapter and go to Aries. You'll want to go to all the chapters and look at your transits and look at all the different things going on. And I give little tips and just how the energies might play out.
Yeah. It's a good resource for understanding. I don't know, like understanding the parts about others that like tend to come up in relationships, like you were saying with like
Yeah,
attracting Aries, but then that doesn't work
yeah,
out for you. It's a great tool, almost like a divinatory tool, to like lead you to the
yeah,
people and like the community
yeah,
that you like mesh with the best.
yeah,
And it's a good lesson. It's a good like teachable moment, like learning astrology, because sometimes you are dealing with someone that has something in their chart that they haven't dealt with, which you were saying, like past life issues, where that's
yeah.
coming to the surface, and you can
Yes.
understand from like a distant, you can understand from afar. You don't need to be like
Yeah,
fixing, but you can be like, okay, this
yeah,
is something that like I can't fix, but I understand that there's something that's their journey and they need to do that. And it's a
yeah,
great way to like be like, oh, this makes sense for something, or someone that maybe that you dated 10 years ago, and you're
yeah,
like figuring out this part. You're like, wait, they were 28 at this time. Maybe they were at their Saturn
yeah,
return. Maybe this is
yes,
why things didn't work out. Like it
yeah,
wasn't just like a missed opportunity. It was like something
yeah,
that your destiny was leading you on. Like you were saying, everything's been decided before you're
yes,
here, and then everything is kind of changing throughout the way that the planets change. Even though
yeah,
they stand firm and they're changing constantly. And we have that here where we'll be working and it's just that overwhelming feeling of an energy shift where we're like, what are the planets in? What is going on? Like
Yeah.
today, like you just have that moment and you're like, what is going on in the astrological weather? I can't
Oh
seem
yeah.
to just focus, or I can't seem to like
Yeah.
communicate. And then you look
Yeah.
up what's going on,
The
and you
moon
see
was
that
in
yeah,
Aries. The
yeah,
moon was in Aries today, and I felt really irritated today. Like I felt like this intensity, like, and
yeah,
I'm an Aries moon, and I looked at I pulled my transit chart up. I'm like, around 12:30 today, I was feeling really funky, and I
hmm
almost wanted to take a nap. I
hmm
just felt like, and I never take naps. And I look, and what do you know? The Aries moon is in my eighth house, transiting my moon, Chiron, and Jupiter, man. And I'm like, yep, it's eighth house, affecting, opening up my eighth house stuff, and I'm like, oh,
yeah.
yeah,
That was like today. The energy was pretty weird, and I'm an Aries rising, and I just felt like
yeah,
I couldn't be forward facing today.
yeah,
The
yeah,
energy was just like I'm gonna just do some back office stuff and work on some things and like
yeah,
just keep
withdrawal.
in. Yeah, I'm like I need to
Yeah,
do that. I feel like
it's
it's something
probably,
that has to happen.
if that moon may have been in your 12th house earlier today, which is the house of solitude and behind the scenes and kind of escaping from the stresses and feeling overwhelmed by
Mhm.
everything. So it's a good time, and that's probably why you kind of were, feeling that way emotionally, because that moon change every 2 to 3 days is pretty big,
Yeah.
and I really believe in that. I try to tap into the energies, and in the book you can read, moon through the first, moon transit second, and it doesn't last long. But it's enough to affect us, and some of the planets, like the moon, move very quickly through each sign. Then other planets aren't there, maybe a month, not as long, weeks. Some planets are years.
hmm
They affect that area of life for so many years. And it's good to look that up in the book. If you have Pluto, I've lived through some pretty difficult transits, so some of the stories in the book are some of my own. Like, when Pluto transited, the Pluto is the planet of death and transformation and rebirth and loss and also healing. And right when it gets ready to move into a house, there's usually some type of a huge change in that area of life. And so for me, I lost a grandparent. I had to move. I changed jobs. And when Pluto went through the fourth, I mean, it was a long transit, as you know. It's like
Yeah.
what, 20 years, and I went through a lot in my life, and then now it's in my fifth house, and I've been going through stuff with fifth house stuff and being empty nest. My daughter left for college, only child. I'm like, whoa, what I do? And it's a weird vibe. And then Uranus, is unexpected change, and that affects us for about 7 to 8 years in each area. And so it's a lot of those outer planets can really affect our lives. And so it's really good to see what's going on and to understand it. And every day, like you said, every day, we can have a square, or a planet is, really working well with another planet. We feel energized, or we just feel like we can't speak. We don't want to be around anyone. Like I want to hide and not leave my house, kind
Yeah.
of thing.
No, I
Yeah,
get that. And as far as when everyone's, if they have their book or they're going to get their book, they're going to understand the 12 signs, transits, and
yeah,
stuff like that. But in your research of when, as a social worker and when you've dealt with people or just talked to people,
sure.
do you find that when you first meet someone, the energy you get from them is their sun, their rising, or their moon?
That's a really good question. The I'll tell you what it is. It's the rising sign. And I've practiced this for many years. It's really, really kind of creepy at this point because it's energy.
hmm
I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that astrology is real and accurate, and I prove it to people. Like the quickest way to prove that astrology is real and accurate is to do the chart for a skeptic. And when I've done that, people are like, "Oh, astrology's baloney. I don't believe in that, and it doesn't affect us." I do their chart, and they are floored, and they're like, "How did you know?" And so sometimes it's me guessing their rising sign. Like when I walk into the room, I feel energy. I've always been very sensitive to my environment and energy, and I feel fire. I'll feel a earth, that grounded energy.
Mm-hmm.
I'll feel air where they're a little bit detached in their mind, or you can feel the water. And usually that first instinct you have, it's really about trusting your intuition. When you first meet someone, how they look, how you feel, how you first think they are is the
Mm-hmm.
rising sign. But the rising sign can fool you because when you really get to know someone, and if their sun sign and moon sign's different than the rising, you're gonna be like, man, you were nothing like I thought you were. So a lot of rising signs get misjudged, and I don't, I kind of go into it in here, but like for instance, like Scorpio risings. A lot of Scorpio rising people tell me that they feel like people are afraid of them, or they don't like them, or they just aren't real friendly to them, or they tell them they didn't think they're friendly, or that they're kind of cold, and
Mm-hmm.
and Scorpio risings kind of have a bad rap, and sometimes, but then when you get to know them, they're very loyal, they're very deep, they're very very they love to be close with people, and but they have that intensity. So
Mm-hmm.
people, depending on your chart, depending on your energy, I know I love Scorpio risings. I'm drawn to Scorpio. But I got a lot of eighth house, and I got my North Node is Scorpio. So I'm meant to be like a Scorpio. And so I draw them. And then Leo risings, I usually immediately know if someone's Leo rising, just the way they look and they act and they walk in the room. And they often tell me, Carmen, like, no, like I don't meet anyone. No one asked me out. Like, and what it is people are intimidated by Leo risings because they think
Mm-hmm.
that they would never date them or never be interested in them. And I'm like, it's because you're attractive. They're like, no, I'm not. I'm like, yes, you are. You're beautiful. But they don't even know that, about themselves sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you're going to have to make the first move because they're scared to say anything to you because they
Yeah.
think you're not going to be interested. And I met so many people, men and women with that Leo rising, that tell me that. And then you can really pick up on the element. Sometimes if someone doesn't have their birth time, and this is how I've actually done chart rectification, which is, when someone doesn't know what time they're born, it makes it hard to know what house the planets are in. So
Mm-hmm.
we can know the energies of the planets, but we don't know what area of life they're going to be in and display out and affect you. So we can get an accurate birth chart without a time if I see someone's picture or face, or if I meet someone in person. I typically can fill it out. Like when I used to do astrology charts at fairs or expos and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I would feel their energy when I first met them, and I go with that. And I'm like, okay, when people first meet you, how do they think you are? How do they judge you? How do they tell you they think you are? And that's where we get into the rising sign, because if we can nail down the rising, we can get an accurate birth chart for someone that doesn't know their time. And I've done that hundreds of times, and they feel like this is my chart. And I've also, it's so funny, I'll have people tell me, oh yeah, I was born at 4:40 p.m. and I'll do the chart, and I know them, I've met them, and I'm like, this isn't your chart. And they're like, what? I'm like, this is not you. I could feel it, the energy is off. And they're like, well, let me check. I go, just ask your parents or look in your certificate again. And they're like, Carmen, not gonna believe this, it was AM, not PM. And I'm
And
like,
it's a
I just
completely
know
different situation.
every time. And like, I just had a consult last week, and the person had their chart, and I said, I know this is weird. We're on here right now. I'm supposed to be doing your chart. Are you sure your time is right? I said, I just have this feeling it's off. And they're like, this is what I was told it was. And then I find out that their mother said, well, it was between
Uh,
12 and 4. It's like,
and you're like, okay, but but then you say,
yeah.
oh, I need to know the time, and they go, why do you need to know the time? It's important.
I know, I'm like, this changes. So I'm like really into the energy of it, and that's why I wrote the book, because it's about feeling the energies, and that's how you can get an accurate chart too. And if someone does not resonate with the chart, if you're an astrologer, you're into astrology and you're doing a French chart, and they really are like, this doesn't feel right, then you don't have an accurate time. And it may just be off a little bit where it changes the moon. It may be off a lot where every 2 hours the rising sign changes. So that's why even twins, some twins that aren't born right at this, really close together, they can have different rising signs, moon sign, different houses. And usually they're pretty, I've done twin charts. Some have had almost identical charts because they're born within minutes. Others are very different. Their rising's off, their moon's different, they're emotionally different. And then the other thing I tell people is we bring our karma and past life lessons and memories with our soul. So we all have a different soul. So even though twins have an identical chart, they're different souls with different experiences, and they came here to learn different things, even though their chart's pretty similar.
Hmm.
And so I always get asked that question about twins, but I don't know. I could talk forever.
Yeah.
So
No,
I mean,
it's
ask me whatever you want. Oh,
so like my experience with, I would say, quote unquote twins but different families is Dina and Danielle. So
yeah,
born the same day, same month, same year, just a
yeah,
couple hours apart. And I believe Dina's a Cap rising and Danny's a Sag rising. So like
yeah,
their first, the moon and sun are similar, but their
yes,
risings are different. So it's
yeah,
like it's an interesting thing on like how a couple of hours can change the person, the soul, the
yes,
energy. Like they
yes,
are very compatible, but like they're two completely different people, and it's the same thing with twins. Like twins may look the same, and everything, but they're completely different people on two completely different journeys.
yeah,
And so interesting
absolutely.
to like dive into that because also like
Yes.
when I was born, my mom, luckily for her, I was born in 7 minutes. She had an
Wow.
hour of labor, and I was born 7 minutes. I was
Wow.
right. I was rushing to get out. I was 2 weeks early, born in
That's
seven
Aries
minutes.
rising.
Yeah, born in seven
I
minutes,
mean,
2 weeks early. I was ready to get out of there. I
you're
was like,
like,
it's
get me out of
over.
here. I want my
And
freedom.
I think that's where it shows up in
Yeah.
my current life.
Yeah.
Not in, I guess, the relationships that I seek, but when my ideas,
Yeah.
they're already fully realized,
Yeah.
but then it's the how do I get the things that I know that I want in the way that I want them? How do I tangibly get that? I'm already ready. The idea is good. The stuff is being like sold, but there's nothing there yet because I already have. I'm like running. Basically, I'm always
Yes.
running and not walking to the finish line.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's like the I guess that's where the Aries like the rising really comes out. But when I first started working here and people were interacting with me like my coworkers,
Yeah.
I'm just a very quiet person. So they
Yeah.
all assumed that I didn't like them.
Oh, okay.
But it really was just me like not knowing them yet and how to interact with them in like a
Yeah.
familiar way. It was like, oh, they're like because I've worked in other jobs where they're your coworkers, they're
Sure.
not your friends, and like you go to work and you go home. And, like here is
Yeah.
completely different. So everyone like wants to know what's your big three, like what's that energy, and I was just like doing my work and they're talking to me. I'm like, uh huh.
Yeah.
I think that was
Yeah.
the Capricorn like we're at work mode gets turned
Yes.
on. Um,
Yes.
but I like
Absolutely.
it's just interesting because like you can flip also you can like do like a form of bibliomancy where you just open the book and flip to a page and you can find information about a sign that maybe it was a family member or a past friend, and
Yeah.
like I said before, you understand like where they were at based
Yes.
on what sign you're reading. You're like, oh, they were this moon, and then I'm seeing
Yeah.
here maybe that's why this was this serious issue for them or something like that. And I always relate my ideas of zodiac signs
Yeah.
to family and friends.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
when I think of a Leo, my grandma's the first person that comes up.
Nice.
She's like
Yeah.
the most prideful Leo, like stuck in her ways. So it's like my grandma and then my coworker Katie are the two Leos that like I
Wow.
remember most of them. Like that
Yeah.
they're same kind of energy, like they
Yeah.
have their ideas, they're doing
Yeah.
their ideas, there's no delineation. But
Absolutely. Yeah. You can start seeing the similarities with the energies, with base, just looking at basic each sign.
mhm.
Like I am a Virgo. My husband's born the same day as me, but he's 5 years older, so he's a Virgo. Only reason I went on a blind date with him, by the way. No more Aries. Ended up marrying a Virgo, which ended up being good. And he's a Cancer moon as well. And then my daughter's a Virgo. She's born the day before we are. So we all have similar traits,
Mhm.
that sun. But then because we're all very different moons, I'm an Aries moon. I'm the talker. I'm the bold one. I'm loud. I'm like always active doing something. My daughter's a Capricorn moon. She's a Taurus rising. She likes quiet. She's like, Mom, you're talking too loud. She used to put her hands on her ears if a loud
Hmm.
noise came. And he's a Cancer moon, so he likes his alone time too. And he's kind of a hermit. And I kind of overwhelm them. I'm
Uh,
kind of the take charge in the house and like tell everybody what we're gonna do.
yeah.
So we all have that Virgo though runs deep, that sun sign. And one thing, I didn't get into it in the book a lot, but we can talk about is that when a planet is conjunct the ascendant or the midheaven, or the even the especially those two, it's just really intensified. And if any planet is conjunct the sun or the moon, you really need to pay attention to that, because that is a big lesson. Because the sun and moon are big in astrology. It's not everything, but it is key, and that rising sign as well. Like, I mean, and what can change that perception of someone, even though they are, say they're Libra rising, and then but they don't feel like Libra rising. And I've done that. I've done many charts. They have Pluto conjunct the ascendant. So it makes them a little bit Plutonian, like a Scorpio like,
Hmm.
okay, person. Or they have Neptune. That's a big one. Conjunct the ascendant, or in the first house, close to the ascendant. They can feel very dreamy and very like they're not in their body. They're like mystical feeling, like a Pisces vibe.
Hmm.
So sometimes certain placements can change the energy enough to fool you a little bit. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, you look, I'm thinking this is your rising, but man, you got some Pisces or Pluto energy going on. Yes, she said, yeah, Sun conjunct Pluto midheaven. That's a powerful. Anytime the Sun is conjunct Pluto, or the Moon is conjunct Pluto, it makes you kind of like a Scorpio, a Phoenix, intense, deep, loyal. Rebirth, transformation. I mean, it does.
Phoenix, Danny, Phoenix.
Yeah,
That's your
it
cat's name.
morphs that energy in there. You know what I mean? It makes you feel like you're an eighth house Scorpio person. And especially in career, that's where you're going to be doing all the, eighth house. What's eighth house? Secrets, mysticism, astrology, tarot, all these things, right? So
Her
that's what
cat's Phoenix
happens.
birthday's today.
Oh, is it? Oh, cool, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
But
But
yeah.
yeah, I love just talking to people and seeing how these different energies play out in their chart. And yeah, stellium in the eighth. Anytime you have a stellium of planets in one house or one area, it's three or more planets, and that means that, to me, I feel like a stellium. Um, I mean, I just did a chart the other day. They had everything. I'm talking when almost everything was in one house. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And it was all in the sixth house. Sixth house. And some of it was in Scorpio, some of it was in Libra. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, okay, let's dig into this a little bit. I'm like, how is it to be you? Like, like tell me. I
Yeah.
mean, sixth house, like that much sixth house is intense. I mean, I've got a lot of Virgo, and really, I do research. I research the eighth and 12th and all the houses, but especially the eighth and 12th. But I can tell you about that in a minute. But I said, have you had illness and wellness? Have you had sickness as a child? Have you had allergies? Are you sensitive to the environment? Because it's that health house. It's that wellness house. It's that and she really feels like more of a Virgo. I mean, she really resonated with the Virgo energies of the sixth house more than she did any Libra or Scorpio, even though that's where the planets were in.
Hmm.
I call it the house effect, and it's just what I call it. Every astrologer's different. I believe that the house's energies take over. To me, the house that the planets are in is very, very important, because that energy of that area life, that sign ruler, is going to take over and blend and change that energy.
Yeah.
So I've met so many people like, I don't feel like I'm a Libra, and they have everything in Libra, and they are more like the house energy. And that's something that you won't read in a book. That's something that I've just believe as an astrologer, doing charts. And you have a stellium in the eighth house, you're going to feel like a Scorpio. You got a stellium in the 12th, you're going to feel very Pisces like, Piscean, compassionate, kind, sensitive, lack boundaries, all that. Some things help people too. Like if you have a stellium in the eighth and 12th, but then you have like, Capricorn rising or Leo rising, something that gives you strength, Aries rising. I feel like what's really saved me is I have a lot of eighth house. I have my moon, my Jupiter, my Chiron, my part of fortune, but they're all in Aries. And I'll tell you what, I'm a Sun and Venus in the 12th house. And that was hard. And I think what's made me a fighter and a survivor really is the fact that I have Aries in the eighth house.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it was anything else, I think, I've been through some stuff that was really hard. And I'm like, wow, I get angry and I'm like, this is bull crap, and I'm not going to be upset anymore. I'm getting over this. It's
Yeah.
like you just like this, like forget this, and I take my sword. I'm going into battle. So I feel like it inspires me to move on quickly from heartbreak or traumas or bad things in life, and just to try to be positive.
Mm-hmm.
Aries they want to do and go, 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 and get things done and think of the future.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's helped me emotionally overcome things that were eighth house things.
Yeah.
I lost a friend. How I got into astrology, I actually lost a friend, was accidentally shot and killed, my friend from high school when I was 16. And I never had anyone die that I was close to. And I started studying astrology after that. I'm like, well, here it is. I have this eighth house stellium. I was meant to lose someone close to me. And a lot of Scorpios, people with a lot of Scorpio lose a loved one or a parent or someone close to them at a young age. That's one of the patterns I've seen, doing research. And so I do a lot of research. I'm actually doing an article right now about the eighth house and for NCGR, and I have 100 charts that are random that people shared with me, and I had them answer 5 patterns. And out of all 100 charts, 99.9 said yes to all 5 patterns that I have noticed. And it's loss of a loved one, feeling that you've been betrayed or some type of trauma, typically sexual trauma, emotional, could be, intimacy, um, inheritance, other people's resources, things like that. Having psychic abilities, being able to feel and sense energy, an energy healing gift, being drawn to those kind of things. That's a pattern. They all say yes to all of it. And I've done many other eighth house people's charts, and they've all said yes to the patterns. That's how I figured out what the patterns were. And so I'm going to try to do a quantitative study to put it in writing, because um, it's just like psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Psychology used to be seen as, a bunch of crazy people, like it wasn't a science, it was a pseudoscience. And that's now astrology, I believe, with Pluto and Aquarius and all these, Uranus and Gemini, all these major things going on. Astrology is ruled by Aquarius rules astrology. Pluto is going to change the field of astrology. I think that we need more research, because if we can start researching these patterns and show that astrology is energy and it's real, we will be seen as a true science.
Mm-hmm.
And so the thing is, a lot of people they don't like research. I know I'm not a fan. I didn't get a PhD in social work. I only got my master's, but I know how to do the basics. So I did this random study, and I'm going to just share what people shared. People recorded,
Mm-hmm.
sent me pages and pages of their life experiences. It's unreal. And it's all this Scorpio eighth house stuff. Transformation, death, rebirth, phoenix energy, where they wake up one day and they say, I feel like I'm a different person. It's very deep and hard to explain in words when you have eighth house planets.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're a Scorpio, it's hard for you to express what you feel, because it's beyond words. It's so deep. And 12th house is similar to the eighth house, eighth house people, they both rule secrets, eighth and 12th. But eighth house secrets, eighth house people always find it out. They see the hidden things.
Mm-hmm.
They see through the dark. They shine a light on the taboo. They're drawn to death. They're drawn to these mystical things. They're, interested in life and birth and sex and all these things that are taboo, right? And their parents, oh, no, 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 that's not, what's wrong with Uncle Tom? He's been drinking too much. That's what Eighth Houser will say at the family reunion, right? And the mother will say, oh, no, no, Uncle Tom's fine. No, Uncle Tom's. And then the Eighth Houser's like, you're
It's like,
lying to me. You're
yeah.
fake. Like you're lying to me. Like, and they see the truth. Where 12th house people, it's an illusion, like a Neptune fog, where
Mm-hmm.
they don't see what's really happening. Their secrets are kept from them. Some of those secrets, I did a research article on the 12th house, and it was actually published in NCGR last fall. And I had the same thing. I had 99 people out of 100 said yes to all the patterns. And one of them is finding out secrets about your family. Many of them found out they were adopted. They didn't know their whole life. Or that their dad was not their biological dad, or their mom was not their biological. They found these things out, and it was shocking. But it was hidden from them,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why the secrets play out a little different. And usually, 12th house people have that idealism where because it's Pisces, and then eighth house people have the Scorpio that's perceptive, that calls the bull crap, like that's not true, and don't lie to me, and so both of those houses bless people with spiritual gifts. So in my book, I mean, I talk all about the Scorpio, Pisces, eighth house, 12th house. So if you have planets there, you can look up what my opinion is of them. But it's a blessing, not a curse, to have 12th and eighth house planets. And in the old days, I would say 1993, when I started studying astrology, there were not any books out there about the eighth and 12th, and what was out there was negative. It was very scary, like not positive things. So I've spent my life researching a lot of these things and realized that those planets in the eighth and 12th, or Pisces, Scorpio, they give you spiritual gifts and abilities. So I
Mm-hmm.
call 12th house people angels and eighth house people phoenixes. So that's my nickname for them. And then fourth house people, the other water house, I call them nurturers, Cancer,
Mm-hmm.
nurturers. So fourth house is important too, the triad, but it doesn't have the same energy and karma and ways that it plays out like the eighth and 12th. They're very similar. And the fourth is very different. It's more home and family, ancestors, your childhood, your roots, where you escape from the world to find comfort. It's a little different. It does bring intuition, though. All the water houses do, heightened psychic abilities, all those things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely like it's so interesting to like learn because when everyone first dives into astrology, they're always going into like my sun sign, my big three. That's what I
Yeah,
like to worry
yeah,
about, and that's what I like
yeah,
to think about. But
yeah,
it's interesting to like see, like you were saying, like where different houses also do and signs govern
yes,
more reception of like intuitive abilities and stuff like that. And I
yeah,
feel like for me, like in my chart where I feel like the battle is my
yeah,
sun and moon,
yeah, yeah.
Capricorn sun, Cancer moon, and
Oh, yes,
it's the pragmatic and then the
yes,
emotional where
yes,
it's a lot of the times Capricorn takes over very
yes,
heavily.
yes,
For like, and ever since I was very young, it was the thing of like you're an old soul, and it
yeah,
was because I think
yeah,
the Capricorn pragmatism comes out where it's
yeah,
like just be serious. You don't need to be emotional. Like
yeah,
everything's fine. But like
yeah,
it would, and then it also then blocks you from then experiencing the emotional. So you do just
yes,
come off as very more, I guess, mature because you're not
yeah,
overreacting in a way.
yeah,
But
you're calm.
but then the
Yeah,
cancer, the late night cancer comes in every now
yeah,
and then and is like, do you remember 5 years ago when that really bad thing happened to you and it was really traumatic and you never dealt
yes,
with it? Why don't we think
yes,
about that for an hour? And then
yeah,
you're like
let's
sitting there like,
feeling it. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Or through your dreams, like
Hmm.
I can say, with my husband being an earth sun and a water moon. He's a Cancer moon like you, and he's a Virgo sun. He really struggled with showing emotion. And I think a lot of times when you're an earth sign and you have a water moon, especially a Cancer moon, and it can be hard because it's, Cancer, like I said, they're the nurturer. They're the mother, they're the caretaker, they're the sensitive one. But they also, what's cool about the polarity of Cancer and Capricorn is that, to me, it's all about balancing um, work and career and practicalness with nurturing yourself and others and healing. So you're in this balance of constantly
Yeah.
balancing these two sides of you, and that's what you're learning. And I'm a earth sun with a fire moon, and for me, I had to learn to speak up and stand up for myself and to be my own advocate and to use my voice and to, not I was always afraid of showing anger. Virgo, I don't want to make anyone mad. I just want to, get things done. And then now that I'm older, I'm more Aries.
Mm,
I feel that we get more in our moon sign the older we get.
mm,
It's, to me, I mean, that's what you'll feel like. You'll wear your moon sign on your sleeve. And I even talked to another astrologer. I'd interviewed him about something, and we brought up the moon. The first thing they asked me, it wasn't what's your sun sign, it's what's your moon sign. And I'm like, oh, because I never had anyone ask me what's your moon sign right off. It's usually what's your top three.
mm-hmm.
And they believe that someday, like if you get a group of people in a room, 200 of them, the moon signs will go together into groups. They'll be drawn to each other because the moon is your inner instinct, your emotions. So, and when he was telling me what he thought about that, I said that is really interesting. Because I can see that, like the water moons, the fire moons, you'll just kind of naturally resonate with the energies of those of your moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's it's crazy, and I think also we were talking about how
Mhm.
in the beginning, like you said, like psychology was a lot of the times in the earlier days
Oh
not
yeah.
seen as science. Um, and I heard a quote the other day from a podcast from one of my favorite drag queens, and she said that science is the magic we understand,
Yeah.
magic is the science we don't understand. And I
Yeah.
found that like so it's such a simple quote, but it means so much
Yeah.
because it's the idea of when gravity was discovered, gravity was already here.
Yeah.
And it's going to
Absolutely.
happen
Yeah.
either way. It's going to happen whether you like it or not. So,
Yes.
in the same terms of like magic and energy, it's here,
Yes.
it's been here, it's going to happen either way. It's just a
Yes.
matter of if you understand it, ignore it, or move with it.
Absolutely.
And I feel like
Absolutely.
it's just astrology, it links to so many different things
Yes.
because
Absolutely.
also with you doing social work, like it
Mhm.
helps because you can find, like you were saying, those patterns and asking these people, like you can feel and find out, like, was there something that happened when you were younger? Because in
Yeah.
this area of here, I'm
Yeah.
feeling this. But then you can also then go into the thing of, okay, now let's work with it, or let's work through
Yes.
it through the social
Yes.
work aspects. And I feel like
Yeah.
hopefully, I think maybe next, hopefully 10-ish years, we'll
Oh,
be seeing a little bit more
yeah.
acceptance into like science with everything going on with like
I
metaphysics
wish it.
and
I wish they would. What my dream is, I used to want to be a teacher. I
hmm
love working with kids. I used to work a lot with children and teens, but I wish that astrology was taught in schools. I wish that
hmm
parents, when you had a kid, you're given their birth chart and that and you've given a guide
hmm
on how to parent your kid. I mean,
yeah
because when I was growing up, I was so different than everyone in my family because I had this 12th and 8th house stuff, and they were like, "It's just your imagination. Go back to sleep." And I was terrified of the dark. I had to have a nightlight. Saw an orb in my doorway, and no one believed me. And now I'm like, oh, it's because of my chart. But I
hmm
wish that parents knew that, and so I try to help a lot of parents. And I love doing children's charts and teens charts because you can prepare and help parents kind of know, like, hey, your child is going to be very empathic. Hey, you need to teach them how to have boundaries. It's okay to say no. Basic parenting skills. I would do
hmm
this with my clients, to help them
yeah
and to be able to parent their children and make it easier, and also prevent their child from maybe getting some emotional pain, or things they may go through. Also, like, you know avoiding bad relationships. Some charts or certain placements that I see that I'm like, okay, listen, you need to be careful what kind of people you date, who you marry, and make sure they're not a power control issues going on or abuse. I mean,
hmm
you need to have an eye for that and know
Yeah.
what healthy boundaries are and what's a healthy love,
Yeah.
and and things like that, making it really practical. That's what I
Mhm.
like to do. Make
And
it very real.
it definitely, it also helps, I think, the parents in the interim, because it helps maybe break a generational issue that they
Yes,
don't even recognize they were doing. So
absolutely.
where you're like, hey, like maybe like your kid needs a little bit more of like an emotional side of you
Yes.
that they're not getting, and then parent is like, they realize, oh wait,
Yeah,
I never had that, and it's just something that I'm just automatically doing, and
absolutely.
you are breaking a cycle through like the generational
Absolutely.
issue.
Absolutely. One of, with the Capricorn and Cancer polarity, and also with the 12th house and 8th house. I see this a lot in 4th house planets. I say that, a lot of times people have planets there. They're the one in the family that is helping heal the ancestral karma. And I did a little video about this, especially with 12th house, because I will see, okay, a client will tell me that their mother had them at age 16, got pregnant at 16 and had them. They find out their grandmother had got married and had a baby at 15. And so then they're the one that, they break the pattern of whatever,
Mm-hmm.
this is. And it could be, good things too, not always bad things, but it can be things that change people's life. There was a thing where, I would see in the family where, um the women, they believe the women shouldn't work outside the home, all this. And so the client ended up being, her own boss, a successful businesswoman. She kind of broke that pattern,
Yeah.
but she always was trying to get her family's approval, and it's like their recognition for them to value her. They weren't capable of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like she ended up having to heal that ancestral karma or wound
Mm-hmm.
that her mother and grandmother and a lot of the family had. Same with addiction. I see that a lot when there's addiction in the family. And then that person with the 12th house, rules addiction. 12th house does. They maybe struggle with alcohol or drugs and whatever, and then they end up going to recovery, or they become a social worker helping people with addiction. They break the pattern,
Mm-hmm.
and heal it and help heal it. It doesn't mean that they may not have to experience the pattern, but they heal it. And that's why the 12th house, astrology is so deep. It's to me, it's a healing tool.
Yeah.
It's a healing tool. And and when you look at where you have a wound, we always want to look at where's Pluto. What house is it in? What sign is it in? Pluto is where we have a childhood wound that we have to heal. And Chiron is an asteroid. Now it's getting big nowadays. There's a lot of books on it. Chiron is also where we have a wound and we become a wounded healer. So we end up helping people that are going through a similar thing we have healed and went through.
Mm.
And you can see where that plays out in your chart. And if you have Pluto or Chiron conjunct any planets, especially the sun or moon, that's very important, because there's a healing that has to happen with your identity if it's the sun, and your confidence. If it's the moon, there's an emotional wound of trusting your emotions or being vulnerable. That's where the wound can be. So it's like looking at these different aspects. You can see different energies. And one thing I want, as a marital, I used to be a marital therapist. I did a lot of marital counseling in the past, and being married, I've been married 26 years. So one of the biggest things, when you do research about what causes divorce, which we know the divorce rate is like what, 1 and 2. It's not very many people stay married anymore, or get married, right? And now the
Yeah.
new trend is no one's getting married and women aren't
Yeah.
having babies. That's the new
Uh-huh.
thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, hey, I don't blame them, but what it is, I always say, where is Mercury in your chart? Communication is one of the most important things in any relationship, and it sounds stupid, but it's 101 psychology. In a relationship, the number one cause of divorce is not intimacy, it's not lack of sex, it's communication issues. They don't talk, they don't know how to communicate, they don't bond, they don't. Some signs, especially Virgo and Gemini, we have to have someone that can connect with us mentally and talk to us. And if we don't have a partner that is on our level to talk, it's okay. We just need to have an outlet for that. So
Hmm.
you can't expect your partner to be your everything. If you're a talker, you typically draw someone that's more quiet. That's just how it happens.
Yeah.
We draw our opposite. I mean, and we have to accept that we can't change people. They have to want to change. But I always say, look where your Mercury is. I was doing this for my daughter a couple months ago because I said, listen, I'm like, chick, you've got to have someone that talks. So I said, you need a Gemini. I'm like, listen, you're dating these Libras, and she's like pulling teeth out of them. She's like, they don't tell me what they're thinking or feeling. It's driving her crazy. I said, just find someone that talks to you.
Yeah.
So look at Mercury. Mercury is key too. It's so important because it's every. I mean, Mercury's a big one, guys. How you share, how you feel comfortable talking. You need someone that inspires or is compatible with your Mercury.
Yeah.
That's a big one too to look at. And I talk about Mercury and all the signs and all the houses and all the transits in the book and everything too.
Yeah. It's crazy, like the divorce rate and everything, and it really does come down to communication. Like my parents split up a couple years ago, before I started senior year of high school, and
Oh,
it definitely was just like that. It was that feeling of like the connection severed, which
yes,
probably was just the communication wasn't where it
yes,
used to be, and it
yeah,
was just there was just nothing there, and that was the divide. But I remember from because that was 2017, 2018. But I
yeah,
feel like from then on, it was just everyone was getting split up, and I
yes.
was like, my friends' parents. I'm like, what is going
What
on?
is
What's in the
happening?
air?
Yes,
And
yes.
but it
Some
really is communication.
it
It's
is. It is that the communication is the number one reason, and financial problem. Different beliefs about how money should be spent.
mhm,
That's the number two. Top two reasons people divorce. Those are the two. And those things you would think can be fixable. And sometimes they can be fixable in my opinion, because if well, if you do the charts, do the astrology charts for sure. Composite charts, synastry charts, you can do a lot of different charts to see, but also looking at past lives. Because if you marry someone, this is something I learned. This I sound like I'm an old woman here, but something I learned is that um, to marry someone is a soul contract.
mhm,
You don't just marry anyone. I mean, think about it. How many people do you actually, I mean, I didn't date a lot. I didn't meet a lot of people. I mean, I dated enough, but when you marry someone, that's destined. A lot of time it's destined. It's fated. I believe
mhm.
you don't just marry anyone. A marriage is karmic. That's why it's hard.
Yeah,
It's not
it's a
going to be,
lesson.
it's not just
It's
a love
not just
affair.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lesson.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. It's a lesson. It's a teachable moment. It's something that you
Yeah.
have to climb the mountain together. And if you
Yeah.
don't, that's where destiny swoops in for the other half is like no,
Yeah.
sorry, it's not working out.
Yeah.
But I just think it's just a great way, and it's the thing of like astrology and everything in like metaphysics. It gives us a little bit more reassurance
Yeah.
that we have a little bit more grasp on
Yeah.
ourselves, the
Yeah.
energy around us, and like the universe. It
Yeah.
makes it a lot easier to take a breath, to be like, I don't know why I was so aggravated today, and then you're finding out that the
Yeah.
moon's in Aries, and you're like,
Yes.
now I understand that, and it
Yes.
helps reassure you yourself that it wasn't just a you thing.
Yes. Yes.
And then you can communicate to like you communicate to your coworkers, your friends, or
Yeah.
people. And like
Yeah.
when you do a session with someone, you're telling them
Yeah.
something that maybe they felt alone in, but you calling it out, they're like, okay, like it wasn't just something going
Yes.
on in here that's
Yeah.
making me feel so
Yeah.
like out of bounds or like
Yeah.
alone in things. And I think that's a great way.
Yeah.
And then also we were talking about like the ancestral trauma, and that if someone came from
Yeah.
families that like the addiction spread generations from like grandmother, mom, or grandfather, dad, and the kid.
Yeah.
I think people also do need to understand when people say breaking ancestral trauma or
Mm-hmm.
bonds, I think the way that a lot of people take it is that when they figure out how to break the cycle, and you were saying like the wounded healer,
Yeah.
they think that means that they can go back
Yeah.
and heal the parental and then the grandparental
Yeah.
figure. But
Yeah.
the thing is that you're breaking the cycle for it to end, so that when the next generation were to
Yes.
come, the cycle is broken.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
kind of you're breaking the cycle to move on, not to move
Yes.
back.
Exactly. Exactly. And one of the things I didn't get into it a big time in this book, but you can relate it and use my book. I have a book about the nodes of the moon, astrology's
Mm-hmm.
magical nodes. I think I did a live with you when
Mm-hmm.
it was out. So the nodes of the moon, the north node sign and the south node sign are so important, and knowing what sign they're in. So if we're all here to move into the north node, and whatever sign this the north node is in is what our soul wanted to master. South node is what we've already learned. Our soul, deep in our soul, is our south node. So it's where we're cozy and comfortable and we know what we're doing. And then, as we get older, we have our first Saturn return at, age 27 to 30. That's the first time we start feeling our north node at all. Before then, we're living in the past lives. We're living in the old karma, the old pattern, and we start getting pulled towards it, and it's a little bit uncomfortable, it's a little scary. And as we get older, though, the universe, everything that happens is getting us into the north node. So if you don't know your north node, guys, do your chart. You can go to astro.com, you can get an astrologer, find out what sign your north node is in, and you can look up all about that sign in my book, Your Astrological Energy. And I tell people, read about the sign your north node is in, and you need to master that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how it's going to be like, oh man, I'm never going to be like that. I remember I thought I'm never going to be a Scorpio. How am I ever going to be a North Node Scorpio, man? I'm like, this is hard. I'm like, I can't be. I want to be like that. I just am not. I'm too sensitive. I'm too emotional. I'm too trusting. I'm all the opposite things of a Scorpio, right? In my birth chart, and I found out now I realized everything that happened to me was to get me into my node. And that's why all of us are going to have this happen. And by the time we're in our second Saturn return, 57 to 60, I do charts for people. They're in their node doing exactly what I tell them they're meant to be doing. They're doing it. So
Mm-hmm.
we get into our node no matter what.
Yeah.
The energy, life, destiny, we'll get into it. But if you want to make it easier on the path, read about your North Node sign and learn to become more like it and embrace it and balance the South Node. It's a balance of the South and North. And when I started doing that, I was laughing one day because this was in 2018. I had a really hard time in my life. Lots of stuff happened. It was pretty intense. I might write a book about it someday. I'm still licking my wounds over it, let me tell you. But I was running and I was just like really emotional, and I had my headphones and I'm like, why is this happening to me? This is what I was saying to myself. Why? Why is this happening? It was just so hard, right? And I heard this voice say, how else will I make you a Scorpio? And I started cracking up laughing. And then I started crying. And I'm like, tears coming to my face. And I'm like, yeah, how else? Yeah. Like, I'm like, duh, and I felt like I wasn't a victim. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, how am I ever going to be a North Node Scorpio if I don't experience loss or betrayal or trauma
Mm-hmm.
or intense things that are hard or have to change my life? You know, and that's what I realized. And I realized that it was a blessing because those things that happened, now I'm more like a Scorpio and I'm doing what my soul wanted to come here to learn. And so, yeah, master, read all about your North Node sign and try to get comfortable with it. Do things that are like it.
I, if I'm not mistaken, I believe my North Node is Cancer, and
Ah, you have the nodes of family karma then. See, you have the nodes of family karma. See,
do
I call
I?
Cancer Capricorn nodes the nodes of family karma.
Well, I
It's
do
like,
have that. So.
yes. And you're balancing work and your success and your career with your home and family and your responsibilities, with your parents and with your home and the home you have and your partner. And
Mhm.
that's what you're balancing. A lot of times people with the my mother has the Capricorn Cancer nodes, and I have a few friends that have those nodes, and everybody I've ever met with those nodes, I mean, it's pretty crazy. Okay, I'd say I have 100 people, 99 said yes to this. Okay, and I'm like, when you do you feel like you're responsible to take care of one or both of your parents?
Yes.
And they're like, yes. Okay, there you go. So you're one of the 100. Okay. And I mean, even I mean, did you move your mother in with you? Yes, my mother lives with me. Okay, I'm paying for my mother's assisted care or whatever. There is a sense of it's the karma of those nodes.
Mhm.
It's the destiny that you're here to learn. And my mother has taken care of both her parents and did so much for them. Never left her hometown. That sometimes happens with these nodes where you stay close to home because of family, even though you want to escape and go live in Europe or wherever. But you end up staying around where you grew up because that's home.
Yep.
So it's that family karma keeps you there. Some people, so you said your North Node is, which one is it? Scorpio, Cancer or
Cancer.
Capricorn? Okay, that's why. Yeah, it's staying close to your roots. If it was flip, you
Hmm.
might, when people have it opposite of you and the opposite sign, they go away, they leave, but they end up having to come back to help or do something. So they may be the sibling that actually left the state or country, join the military or whatever. But then when they get older, they're the sibling that has to help because no one else is really doing anything or whatever. So, it can play out like a lot of ways like, well, my siblings are in town, but I'm the one that moved back to help my mother or help my father or whatever, or my siblings or whatever. So, yeah. So and I have the nodes of forgiveness, letting go, allowing change into my life, taking risks, because I'm a Taurus South Node. Tauruses don't like change. I like
Yeah.
stability and comfort, and I have to learn that money is not everything, and money doesn't always bring happiness. It brings security. But so I changed my life a couple in March. I completely left a job I had for 25 years because I knew I was meant to go, and everybody thought I was crazy. But you know what? I'm being a Scorpio. I trusted my gut and I changed things, and now I'm happier. It's like towards South no people stay miserable and they because they don't want to change, and they're forced to change, and I didn't want to be forced to change. So I ended up trying to change things and be a Scorpio,
Hmm.
and so that's what I'm learning. So everyone has karma with their nodes are very important, and it's good to read about it. Yeah, because that's really, in my opinion, the most important thing in our chart are the nodes, the North Node.
Hmm. Yeah, the North Node for me. You got it to you got it to a T there. You're like completely
You're like, sorry,
That's okay. I have Danny's in the chat, and she
I
heard
saw.
you were talking about it, and she was like calling someone out. It was 100% accurate. But that's the thing, like when people don't understand like how accurate astrology can be, just because it's
Yes.
not something that they're tangibly feeling or touching or
Yeah.
experiencing, doesn't mean or devalues the reality of how relatable it is to what we're going
Yeah.
on with every day, and I
Exactly.
think it's amazing. So
Astrology's energy. It's
yeah,
energy.
so we're gonna do some closing thoughts, but I
Thank you.
hope everyone enjoyed. So
Yes.
make sure you guys get your Astrological Energy by Carmen Turner-Schott. We have it in the shop. We're gonna
Signed
have it on our
copies
website.
too.
Signed
You got
copies
my
too,
signed
yeah.
copies.
We got
Yes.
signed copies in the shop. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Let's see, what's a good thing? So let's do, because we're in the metaphysical
Yeah.
space, for people that, are a little witchy, what would you say, what signs energy should they be tapping into as we're getting
Hmm.
into fall?
Oh, into the
We're
fall.
getting like mysticism. So what, even though it's,
Ooh.
the time of like,
Yeah.
like, what
So
would
I
you,
would say it's really good to tap into Scorpio energy. That's
yeah.
what I'm saying. But see, this month is the eclipse month. So there's all these eclipses. So it's all about a lot of people right now tapping into the Virgo. The Virgo Pisces energy is really overwhelming people,
Mhm.
because we had the full moon eclipse and we have one coming up in Virgo. So the one we just had was Pisces, and I'm a Virgo. And then the nodes of the moon in the sky right now are in Pisces and Virgo. So it's this illness, health and wellness, self-care, spirituality versus the real world, having to balance responsibilities with wanting to escape and be spiritual and do witchy stuff.
Mm.
So I would say tap into Scorpio because we're feeling this Pisces Virgo stuff so intensely right now. We need a little bit of strength, a little bit of like be able to cut off all this
Hmm.
emotion that is hurting us, and getting tough.
Yeah.
Scorpio is like, the phoenix. So it's like I would tap into the Scorpio vibe of in there in October, November coming up. I love autumn. Fall's my favorite time of year. Thing, starts getting dark earlier, and I love the cool weather, and all of the trees changing the colors of the leaves. And I would say tap into that because everyone's feeling so much of this Pisces Virgo energy. It's a lot of people are feeling really like getting sick or feeling like lack of energy or just wanting to stay home, call out sick. They don't feel good. They're just kind of energy levels, and that's because we have all these eclipse energies going on in those two signs.
Yeah.
We're all feeling it. We're
And
all
we
feeling
don't
it.
know where to go. We don't know where to focus or which way we're going. It's like
Yes,
constant
yes.
spinning coin of what's gonna be.
Yes, yes, absolutely. But yeah, it's funny because you're I recommend, you really got the double Capricorn and then the Cancer moon and then the nodes there. It's all about balancing work and your goals with family and home. That's a big thing. And if anybody wants to follow me, I'm on
Yeah.
Instagram, Carmen Turner-Schott, author. I'm on Facebook, Deep Soul Divers Astrology. And then my website's Carmen Turner-Schott, SCHOTT.com. And you can get a free 12th house and 8th house gift if you go to my website. You can download it. And then if I do consults, I teach classes. I have a few classes coming up if you want to. So would love for you to sign up. I have a moon signs, houses, and healing class on the 21st with the College of Psychic Studies. It's online, a 3-hour class. And then I have the Mysteries of the Eighth House I'm teaching in November. It's going to be a deep dive in the Eighth House if anyone's interested at the College of Psychic Studies. I think I also put on my website. But you can contact me and I'll get you info. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on
Yeah.
email through my website. Yeah.
We're going to tag you below so everyone can find
Cool.
you and then everyone can get your book on our website. There's signed
Cool.
copies available. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Carmen, for joining us for this author talk.
Thank you.
And
Thanks for
have a
having
good night.
me.
Yes.
Yes, so nice to meet you.
So nice
Okay,
to meet
thank
you
you.
too. Have a good
Okay,
night.
you too. Bye bye.
Bye.